started a new chapter in my life. I've decided to start, I'll say 5 to 7.
Thank you. Don't worry. That's why I had you.
I've decided to start traveling more. I didn't travel much at all before, so now I'm actually traveling. I started this with a bucket list trip to Newfoundland, CC Puffins. And my next big trip is coming up in December. I'm going on a cruise to Cuba.
Oh, awesome.
And I've never been on a cruise. Never been to Cuba, obviously. I've never even been to Florida, flying out of Miami. So it's going to be a lot of brand new things, a lot of firsts. As nervous as this makes me, I am also very excited and looking forward to my trip. But there is the nervous part of me is doing what I often do when it comes to doing talks here, just putting it out of my head. I'll think about it later. I'll think about it later. And when I sat down to try and figure out what I was going to talk about today, another thing that I was also saying, I'll think about it later, about, I decided, you know what, I'm going to talk about going to Cuba, because that's what I'm about to do. So I decided to look up tips for going to Cuba, suggestions from what other people have discovered on their trips to Cuba. And Cuba, as you all know, is a unique destination for Americans. It's always been possible to get to Cuba, but not necessarily encouraged by our government. More recent relaxing of the relationships between our two countries under Obama allowed additional tourism to Cuba. But still, it's a complicated, kind of tricky thing to get there. So you have to either go with a tour company, which is what I'm doing, going on Royal Caribbean Cruises. And then the tour company handles all of like their visa stuff, and they know all the, like there's 12 categories through which you can officially get to Cuba. They know those, and they know how to kind of navigate all of that. So I believe what I'm doing is a person-to-person exchange. That's the category that I'm traveling under within the required set of 12, but with the tour company. And so one of the things, as part of that requirement, one of the things that I have to do while I'm there is go on a cultural exchange tour within Cuba. So you can't just go there on the cruise ship, hop off, and then wander around. You have to do a cultural exchange tour of some sort. And then it sounds like you can walk around on your own. So I'm going to be going on the tour of Hemingway's Havana. So I think it'll be interesting. One of the people I'm going with is very into literature. She's an English teacher, so I know she's pretty excited about the tour. Another way to go to Cuba is if you can go independently. You can make it happen, but you have to figure out all of like the visa, what kind of visa you're supposed to get, where to get it, who to get it from. Some airlines you can buy it in the airport. Sometimes you might have to actually get it from a government office. And then once you get there, you know, it's kind of, there are only certain airlines that will fly from America to Cuba. And so, you know, you have to figure all that out for yourself. There's no one to help you out. A third way to go, which is how people have been going, you know, for 50 years, is kind of a gray area. I don't know if it's technically legal or technically illegal. It's kind of a gray area. But you go to another country, and then you go into Cuba. It's like you go to Mexico, and then you go into Cuba. And it's funny because you read all the websites, I'm looking at a lot of the websites, and they don't necessarily encourage it, but they also don't discourage it. They say that it's for the adventurous or the naughty traveler. And so I decided based on that, it's good that I'm not going that way because I'm too new to international travel to be an adventurous or naughty traveler. So it works out very well for me. Some of the other things that I've learned related to the complicated relationship, I have to be careful about what I purchase and where I purchase things when I'm in Cuba. There are certain military-owned shops, hotels, etc., that are specifically banned by the U.S. government. You cannot spend money there. And I don't know if you necessarily can tell from the front of the store. It's not going to be like, don't spend your American money here. So that'll be interesting to figure out. And money in general, they don't take American credit cards. You can't use American credit cards in Cuba because of all the still financial regulations and everything. So I think for me, this is going to be a really interesting trip. I think it's pretty cool how the universe has kind of set it up so that when I decide that I'm going to start traveling again, it presented this opportunity for me to go to actually a pretty complicated place to travel. And it'll enable me to kind of tackle like the anxieties around travel just like head on right at the beginning. And I'm pretty excited about seeing Hemingway's Havana and the rest of Havana. Thank you.